Now, Pumzila, you are the Executive Director of UN Women. Why partner with Facebook today?
Well, because I need outreach. I need to talk to the women of the world, wherever they are, no matter who they are. And by partnering with Facebook, we're going to be able to reach out to a lot of women, and we remove the entry barriers also for women who need to market their businesses.
Now, tell me about this workshop that's launched today, Boost Your Business. How is this going to help women in South Africa?
It's going to help women who would otherwise not use technology as a platform to advertise their products. And they will also, through the learnings that they will get here, see how affordable that is, how easy it is to use the platform, but also how you could actually make friends that are potential business partners, people that you could collaborate with, of course, people that you can also compete with. So it's multifold. It's lowering the entry barriers into advertising for women. It's finding markets. It's finding clients. It's finding potential business partners that you could do work with, and the unknown. I'm sure women will also innovate and bring in something new that we haven't thought about.
Now, do women in South Africa have the access and the know-how to use the internet and these social networks, like the way we've been speaking this morning?
The kind of women that are here today participating definitely are in that league. They have access, but they don't particularly, most of them, use Facebook and the social media for business purposes. And it is that mindset that we want to shift.
Now, how are we going to grow the amount of women business owners on the African continent?
In part, it is about making opportunities available for women on the continent and providing special measures in order to make sure that you can reach women. So whether we're talking about affirmative procurement, whether we're talking about outreach programs by government and civil society that takes the business opportunities or training into rural areas, into women's organizations, and of course the use of the media to tell the story, to make sure that information reaches as many women as possible. So communication is actually quite critical, both as a way to do business and as a way to deliver information about business opportunities.
Now, does government need to do more when it comes to empowering female entrepreneurs?
Everybody can always do more. The fact that today, as we speak, the women are predominantly in the informal sector. 75% of the women who are working outside the home are in the informal sector. They do not make a lot of money. Their work is unprotected, and also they do not have a minimum wage. Is a big concern. So we need to take advantage of the fact that the women are out there. They are available to work, but we need to take the kind of work that they do to a higher level. Make it more formal. Make sure that the wages are not so low. Ensure that it is safe, and ensure that it is also sustainable. And there we need government, both policy intervention as well as programmatic interventions.
Can you give us an example of a woman working in an informal landscape?
Well, women are selling on the sidelines of the streets, and you have a line of women selling exactly the same thing. I mean, how many tomatoes can you sell on the sideline of the station? So those women spend a lot of time out of their home, sometimes even there with their babies, in a relatively unhealthy condition. And what do they take home at the end of the day? Pittances. You need to be able to take that enthusiasm and the determination of that woman and give them something more that they can do, which is more rewarding than standing on the side of the street.
All right, what's the next step? How do we empower these women?
These are where you look at, can you actually help those women have a kiosk? Can you make sure that they're not just selling perishables? Where would they buy the goods that they would need to buy? And of course, help the women do the sums. You know, do I sell sweets as against biscuits? And which biscuits? And how much will I make if I sell next to a school or next to a hospital or next to a station. Those are some of the intricate processes that we need to support women with as service providers, as both private sector, as government, as well as multilateral organizations such as ourselves.
Now, is there anything else you and women will be doing to help move these processes along?
Well, at a global picture, we are looking at every country's legislation to look at the legislation that discriminates against women. That has an impact both on the women's rights front as well as on the economic empowerment. And we will engaging with each government about changing that legislation, either repeal it or passing new legislation that will propel women's economic empowerment. The fact that we've got 124 countries that still has offending legislation is huge. But also at a global level, we are also working with countries to come up with new initiatives that would address women's economic empowerment. And in September this year, we're asking the countries to come with these initiatives, to present them in the sidelines of the General Assembly, so that we can then collate this information and see if in 2015 September we have been able to push countries to think about initiatives that will take us from where we are to a possibility that before 2030 we would have progressed in a significant way in relation to gender inequality. And technology is one of the measures that has to be on the table. So we're also going to be encouraging governments to consider technology-based interventions as a way of closing the gap when it comes into the legislation they have and the poor implementation. How can they use implementation to facilitate, technology to facilitate better implementation? And when we talk about technology, we must introduce and encourage government to use technology services that are easily available to women, so that we don't go and create new measures that would still be in themselves difficult, present difficult processes for women. Use what women know, what is already there, what is available across the globe, and in that way, strengthen the reach and scale up the interventions.